Hello again. We are the Trifecta Sports Podcast. Thank you for tuning in. As always, if you are watching this on YouTube, please subscribe to the channel, like the video, share it with your friends. If you're listening to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or any other podcast platform for that matter, follow us on there. Download all of our episodes. Hook us up with a like and follow. Share us on Facebook. All that good garbage. We haven't had a show in like a week. How far has it been? How long has it been? It's been a while. Busy time of the year. Baseball's going on. Regional tournament starts this week. School's letting out next week, so you boys pretty stressed out. But anyway, we're here today. We're going to talk some sports. Dave's going to kick us off today with a little bit of information, some Major League Baseball news coming out there. Some of you guys might have picked up on it already, but the White Sox and the Yankees do not like each other.
No, they do not. And then things
They don't like each other.
They got spicy yesterday. So in case y'all missed it, I believe it was like the sixth inning. Josh Donaldson, the third out was made. The White Sox made the third out, and Donaldson rounded second base. And, White Sox, Tim Anderson, one of the best hitting shortstops in the league, they start jawing and having some words. Nothing out of the ordinary. Nothing really happens. They go their separate ways after a few seconds, and then I believe it was an inning or two later, Donaldson came up to bat, and Yasmani Grandal, the catcher for the White Sox, took exception to what Donaldson had said, and before you knew it, here come the bullpens, all the dugouts. Tony La Russa's yelling at Josh Donaldson, and we have a full-on just benches clearing. Nothing, no punches thrown, nothing really that dramatic. But where the story gets super interesting and delicate is after the game, Tony La Russa calls out Josh Donaldson and said his comments he made to Tim Anderson were racist. Depending on how you take it, you can take it that way, or you could take it completely different. Josh Donaldson came back and said, I said, hey, Jackie. Frank and I were talking before the show. Tim Anderson did a story with Sports Illustrated a few years ago where he referenced himself as, the new Jackie Robinson because some changes needed to come to the sport, and he was trying to lead that charge. So Josh Donaldson said, hey, Jackie, as a way to spite Tim Anderson, trying to, poke the bear with using his own comments against him. So, it might have all been all in fun at the time, but you get the R word slapped on stuff and things get serious pretty quick. So, what's your guys' take on it?
In my opinion, Josh Donaldson is not like the friendliest person in the world. I would think that he would be smart enough not to use that as any sort of derogatory manner geared towards someone's race. But in today's time, you really don't know. I just don't understand why people have to talk crap all the time to each other. Just play ball. I mean, I know it's part of it, but like people go the extra mile nowadays, and I just don't understand it. Why? But he's the kind of guy that I wouldn't put it past him if it was racially motivated to say something like that. But I'm not going to defend him either. So that's just me.
I definitely agree. There's
just shut your mouth.
Yeah, there's no defense there. Whether they're close or not, I don't know. I don't know if it was something. Obviously, it wasn't something taken as a joke. If the entire team was there to have his back afterwards, I've said this before and on several topics. I'm a white male. I have a college degree. I don't know. I don't. So I would be extremely uncomfortable ever saying anything like that. So I just can't, I can't express how it made that person feel because I don't know. It's not a situation I've been in. It's not a situation where I can speak for how he took that. So, yeah, I think it's definitely a mistake on Donaldson's part. I'm sure the MLB will come down with some discipline. at the minimum, it seems like the standard in sports right now is sensitivity training, and then it can extend further if they find intent or anything like that. But I think that's what we'll see out of it.
I just it's dumb that it's come this far in terms of trash talk. People are trying to one up each other nowadays and try to just like, hey, I'm going to hurt your feelings with my words instead of I'm going to beat your ass on the field. It's all talk nowadays. Social media has blown things out of proportion. Now, I mean, back in the day, even when we were in high school, social media wasn't huge. You had Facebook, you had Twitter, but everything wasn't scrutinized all the time with a public lens like it is now. So you could get away with talking some crap and doing some things and, hurting some people's feelings without public backlash. Nowadays, you can't. And I think that for the older generation, that's hard to accept. And for the younger generations, they can't learn it. So they're being stupid about it. That's why the world is the way it is because people don't know how to handle being there's no privacy anymore. There's zero privacy. Yeah. And it's our own fault. It's our own fault.
I don't have a problem with smack talk. I don't have a problem with edgy play. It's just there's lines, right? I mean, you've got those unwritten rules. You have to know what not to cross. Like, I have no problem at all if somebody smack talking me. You can't get derogatory in any way or even leave gray area for it to be that, interpreted as that. Like, you can talk all the smack you want. I don't care if he's smack talking around every base he rounds, but there's things you can't say inside and outside of sports. And a professional at that level should definitely know that.
Well, and even that you bring up, he said bringing up the guy who broke the color barrier in a negative term to a guy, that right there is just, you should know better. I mean, we literally have Jackie Robinson Day. Josh Donaldson, you literally wore 42 on your back.
Yeah.
Like, the ignorance in the comment, and that just, it proves that, you can have, no idea what you're saying, or you might not mean it in a bad way, but you got to be careful with what you say these days because you don't know how other people take it. And that's how you get out of a job. That's how you get not re-signed, because then you get the label of not worth the trouble.
Yeah, that's the thing people don't understand is, it's a free country. You can do what you want. You can say what you want, but a lot of people don't understand that just because you can say and do what you want doesn't mean there's not consequences for the things you do and say. I think people get that a little twisted sometimes, and they don't understand that. It's like, oh, no, you can't break the law. You can't say things like that. There are public standards that you have to follow, or there are going to be public standard consequences, whether that be diminishing to your reputation, your employer deciding that you're not the kind of quality of a person that they thought they hired, so they're going to get rid of you to find somebody that does follow their standards of employment, and whether that be baseball or professional, in the everyday world for everyday people still don't understand that what you say and do matters, and there are consequences to it, even though you think it's free speech. Yeah, it is free. Yeah. It's free. You can it's free, but you have to pay for it later. So people can't understand that.
I think the thing that's most upsetting to me is Josh Donaldson and Trevor Bauer are two of the more out there players when it came to development and teaching different philosophies on how to do stuff. I mean, Trevor Bauer is a big driveline guy. He's all about spin rate. Josh Donaldson, he was about bat angle, launch angle, getting the ball in the air and hitting home runs. And now you look, we're 5 years past, like, whenever they started kind of breaking in and leading this change in the game, and now it's like they're both in the limelight for negative press, and it's like that's the bad part in my mind for the game, is like you actually get two guys that are doing good, they're changing the way you think about the game and the way the game's played, and then they go do stupid shit, and now it's like you gotta, just when you think you had new faces of the game, they take themselves out of that by their actions off the field, or, well, in this case, on the field. So,
and another thing is when people do these things that are negative, yeah, they're really good players. They're professionals. Josh Donaldson has not had a steady job in quite some time. He's bounced around. He's just kind of a placeholder for somebody else always in the last few years. Trevor Bauer hasn't been great his career either. He had a good couple years in Cincinnati, or a good year in Cincinnati. Was okay before that, a couple years when he came here from Cleveland. But like, those guys are easily replaceable. Like, they're not going to be someone that you have to, oh man, we lost them. No, there's guys in AAA, even AA, that are just as good. They're just not proven yet. And people that are in those highly touted positions have to understand that, like, your life can change on a dime and there's nothing you can do about it. It's all because of who you are as a person. Bad people don't stay successful for very long. There's always a downfall.
Yeah, I'm going to be interested to see how his teammates handle it, because there's not a locker room in the MLB or any sport right now that isn't diverse.
Yep.
And guys aren't going to want to play with somebody who has that mindset. I mean, it's not something that accidentally comes up, right? I mean, there's intention put behind that comment. He had to think about that. He had to know where he was at, when to say it.
Probably planned it.
So, yeah, 100%. So, interesting to see how his teammates handle it. And like you said, you know, if this does end up in some way, shape, or form of him not being on that roster, what team is going to bring that mindset into a locker room?
Not many. Well, keep it on the baseball train. David's alma mater, the Quincy University Hawks, have won their regional in the Division II college baseball tournament. Dave, fill us in.
Yeah, so shout out to Coach Shiz, first year taking over the program after my old coach, Josh Raby, took over the AD at QU. So took over a pretty talented squad that had high expectations, and you know, it was a very exciting week of following the Hawks for me. So game one, they had to play Northwoods University out of Michigan. They had a 5-1 lead going into the bottom of the ninth. They were the away team. The starter had gone 8 innings, 92 pitches, hot hand. He's a all region pitcher. Sadly, Shiz rolled with him back out there. First pitch of the inning, solo shot. Third pitch of the inning, solo shot. Finally got an out, gave up a hit, got another out, gave up a two-run home run to tie the game. So game one was a roller coaster of emotions. They ended up losing in extras, sadly. But, you know, the boys rebounded. They played their hearts out. They ended up winning their next 3 to actually take the regional against Davenport University, where I'll give Lance Logsdon a shout out. He 7-7 in the top of the ninth, and he hits the game-winning run, double off the wall. So Hawks ended up winning 9-7, with Alex Pribble striking out the side to end the ninth against their 3-4-5 hitters. So only the second time the Hawks, absolutely, only the second time the Hawks have won the regional. I'm biased because I was the first year on the team. It's 2017, so this is the second year. And now they await the winner of Wayne State and Illinois Springfield in their super regional. So pretty exciting time, and let's go Hawks.
Is that the Davenport out of Michigan? Is that the Davenport you guys play?
Yeah, they just transitioned from NAIA over to D2, and I think they were like their top 15 already ranked, so they could hit.
I was a college rugby player, and we played up in Indiana at IU for a weekend, and we played Indiana and Davenport is like one of the top 5 to 10 schools in the whole country in terms of rugby production. They actually had a couple of kids from Kentucky that played on their team, and now they're all playing in the professional rugby league here in America. So that's how that's a connection with Davenport there. I played in that game, and we got walloped. They whipped our ass. So. It wasn't fun. They were so fast.
Yeah.
Even their guys that were my size, they were like, vroom, couldn't catch them. But shout out to the Quincy University Hawks there. We also have on the deck today, we're going to highlight one of the coolest things in baseball currently, and that is the Savannah Bananas down in Georgia. One of the coolest things since probably the Harlem Globetrotters. If you haven't been following the Savannah Bananas on social media, you're missing out. Quick shout out, Kentucky boy Dalton Cornett, formerly of Alice Lloyd College and Knott County Central High School, has spent the last few months playing with the Banana Ball World Tour. And the cool thing about the Savannah Bananas is they have two different types of seasons. They're actually a college summer team season where current college athletes, current college baseball players come down there and play their summer league there around the area. A couple of UK players have played there in the past. I know Alex Deegan, who is a current player. I think he's a pitcher. He played there a year back, I believe. And then they had also like the more entertainment side of baseball with the Savannah Banana, or what they call Banana Ball World Tour. What's really cool about Banana Ball is they have their own rules. So one of the coolest rules is if any pitch gets by the catcher, you can steal first base, and it counts as a hit. And honestly, I've heard that rumor being thrown around for high school sports and NFHS that if a ball gets by the catcher at any part of the count, whether you swing or not, you can run to first. And that's kind of something that's been thrown around. But another rule they have is if you get walked, you have to try to turn it into a double. So once the walk is thrown, in order for it to be counted as an out, the defense has to have everybody on the team touch the baseball. So, for example, if you say I'm at the plate and I'm hitting, I get walked, I'm immediately trying to hustle it out for a double. If I'm on defense, if I make it without everybody touching it, I get a double off of a walk. If the defense has everybody on the field touch the ball, then it's an out after the walk. So what happens is the catcher gets the ball, throws it down to second base. Second base throws it around the horn on the infield. First baseman throws it to the outfield's coming in. First base throws it to left. Left throws it to center. Center throws it to right. Right throws it back into second base. It's really cool. I've seen it happen a couple times. Also, one of the cool rules is if you foul it off and it goes out in the crowd and somebody in the crowd catches it, you're out. And it's just really fun. They do a lot of cool promotional type things, kind of like what you see in the minor leagues. But the Banana Ball guys are former college players, former professional players, things like that. But quick shout out to the Banana Ball guys and Savannah Bananas all together. If you haven't followed them on Twitter and Facebook and YouTube and all that good stuff, you're highly missing out. If you're a baseball fan, if you're a traditional baseball fan, you might want to steer clear of it. But if you're a baseball fan in general and like just spicing up the game a little bit and something different, you give those guys a follow. They do a really cool job.
The best rule they have is 2-hour time limit. That's what's changing the game. They play fast pace. All those rules that are there, kind of speed it up, because somebody can turn a double as quick as you can walk to first if you're really trying, right?
Oh, yeah.
So I love it. Coming to the plate in cutoffs, bats on fire, dances in between the pitches, the extra emphasis from your umps on strikeouts and walks. Like, everything about it is super entertaining. I've watched as many Savannah Banana highlights this season than I have of every MLB team combined. Like that, if you're not a dedicated fan of the game, like, they're more entertaining. They are. So I really think you could, obviously you can't make MLB this and nobody would want it to be, but I think you could see some of these rules adapted to make the game a little more exciting in the next 5 years or so.
And the best thing is they play, I know their summer team does. I don't know about the Banana Ball guys, but there is a couple of games every year where they actually play in kilts. They have navy, blue, yellow, platted kilts. And up until last year in the summer, they were undefeated in kilts, and I think they lost a game last year for their college summer team. So pretty funny.
Yeah, I will highlight what Coop said and kind of emphasize it, because we went to the Cardinals game a few weeks back now, and boys, that was a 3.5-hour game, and it was like 8-2. The Giants beat the Cards, and I'll tell you, I was bored. It was bad. And that's where I think, and watching college baseball this weekend, we're playing 9 innings in 2 hours, 2:15, 2:30. Like, how I know that MLB they've got these $1 million salaries, and we got to get the advertisements in there, but 3.5 hours with 7 o'clock game time, that's just ridiculous. And I think that's where I'm hoping Banana Ball and all these different rules that they're starting to implement kind of, change how the MLB guys approach it. Because I know, like, Frank, you probably see it where the better pitchers in high school are the ones who don't think, they just go.
Yep.
They're on the mound, they get the ball, they pitch. You don't see a good pitcher who takes 10 seconds after they catch the ball from the catcher before they get back on the rubber. You definitely don't see that in college. It's all about pace because you want to get those batters on their heels. You don't want to let anybody get comfortable. But yet you go see these professional guys who take their sweet time between pitches. I mean, granted, different skill set. They're there for a reason, but it's
And they're
just
playing for their jobs.
right. And it's just, how does the game alter that much in, relatively not a very thin barrier between the two? Because, I mean, shoot, now you're seeing 23, 24-year-old college guys that have COVID years. And, I mean, shoot, Juan Soto is what, 20, 21? And that's just where I don't see how college games can be more efficient than a professional game, where the professional game should be more cleaned up and, polished. So,
Yeah. The big cheating scandal that we've had in baseball over the past few years was sign stealing. It amazes me there's enough time to steal that sign, communicate it, and then effectively act on it.
There are
Like,
ways.
how in the world is that happening that fast? If you speed the game up, like you said,
there's so many different ways. Now, given in high school, it's a little different because you play teams that if you're on second base, sometimes when you're on first base, you can steal a sign from the catcher. It's a little bit more complicated in the major leagues, and I'm sure it is in college when they have different relays for different signs, different innings for different signs, and things like that, which we try to do that as well. But honestly, with high school players, you're lucky to get through a set of 3 signs with getting the right call made. So if you're paying attention, you can actually take the sign from the catcher, easily relay that to the player hitting somehow non-verbally, and can still let them know what's coming.
Yeah, I can see the process. It's just the speed and efficiency they're doing it with. Like, I don't know how, especially with the camera system.
It's technology.
Beating on the trash can.
No, it's not technology. I mean, from the college sport, it's not technology. I played college ball for 5 years, and I will say we didn't really steal signs until I got to QU. And we took a class in stealing signs, which, but we did it the right way.
But everybody else does it too. I mean, it's not like get better signs if you don't want them stolen. I mean,
right. Well, but that's not even it. Is most of the time when we're stealing signs, you're not even looking at the catcher. You're looking at the pitcher. The pitcher's tip. Every pitcher tips. It might be the slightest thing, but the difference between a high school dugout and a college dugout is, in college, you have 20 guys on the bench that are absolutely locked in, and they all know, hey, if we can figure out what they're throwing and our guys can hit it, we have a way better chance of winning. Where high school kids, they're a little more, they don't care as much. They're not in the game as much.
If you could hear the conversations going on in the high school dugout, a bunch of freshmen and oftentimes people that just aren't playing, they're not invested.
Exactly.
They're really not.
Exactly. So that's where, in my senior year, I was the backup catcher. I played about 40% of the games. And, that was my job on the bench. I was looking at the pitcher getting a sign. I was looking at the catcher. How did he set up? Does he set up different between a fastball and a breaking ball? Then you look at the shortstop and the second baseman. Are they moving a different direction? Because they're looking at the pitch too to see what, if it's a fastball, we're probably going to pull it. Someone to shade this way or shade that way. And then you can even look at the coaches. If the coaches are calling the game, it's easier to steal pitches off of a coach than it is a pitcher or a catcher most times. So, like, the game of stealing signs, it's elaborate. And you look at D2 baseball stats, there are a lot of good hitters. It is crazy. There was a guy for Illinois Springfield who's batting like 460 with 24 home runs. I mean, I'm guaranteed he's getting picked in the draft this year. But I guarantee it, a lot of those, he's had a lot of help knowing, hey, I got a breaking ball coming here and I'm going to sit on it.
Yeah.
So the whole sign stealing stuff, the technology part of it with the Astros and the Yankees and the Red Sox, I think that part's messed up because there are so many ways you can do it correctly. But stealing signs it's a beautiful art form, and you just watch, you pay attention a little bit more to the next game you go to, college or MLB, and you'll see there are a lot of guys who are looking directly at their bench or directly at their fielders trying to figure out what's going on.
Yeah, that's what people don't understand about the game of baseball. They think it's just a pitcher get up there, throwing a pitch across the plate, hitters hitting, and players making plays. No, there are games within the games that are also within other games that you're playing. You're playing position battles, you're playing alignment battles, you're playing different count battles, different pitch battles, the bunt game, the umpires, you're playing those guys as well. You know their strengths and weaknesses. And let's say that you have an umpire that's pretty tight behind the plate. Well, you can't throw just any pitcher on the mound that day. It just can't happen because it's going to be a long day. We've lost many baseball games this year because we have pitchers that can't adjust to that specific umpire. And what happens is you get into a rhythm. Every single inning is different in baseball, and your game plan can change per pitch. And that's what the beauty of it is. If you actually spend time in a dugout, if you haven't already, and you don't really understand why baseball is so special and important to people, spend a day in a dugout, spend a game in a dugout, and listen to the conversations the coaches are having in that dugout constantly. Or even, go to a practice and just listen, because it's constant adjustment. That's the beauty of it.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to switch gears here a little bit. And one of the biggest things in the media here lately is the soap opera that is the NIL, name, image, and likeness in college sports. Mainly in the news this week, we have Nick Saban versus Jimbo Fisher. The only thing that would make this better is if we had a celebrity death match from MTV with both of these guys going at it. We had Lane Kiffin throwing some words in there, and then Steve Spurrier, the old ball coach, throwing his thoughts in there as well. So, you guys, Coop, take this one and give us what you know, some details on the Texas A&M versus Alabama saga.
So Nick Saban kicked this whole thing off. Obviously upset that he did not have the number one recruiting class in the nation for the, 10th year in a row. Seems like every year it's Alabama at the top.
It's at least 100.
His claim was about NIL and how it influenced that recruiting class. According to Saban, he had 25 players last year that were taking advantage of NIL, made about $3 million off of it between them. Said that he has never offered an NIL deal to a recruit. They've never been guaranteed any NIL money. I want to make that distinction clear because I don't know what he pays them otherwise, if he does. Never offered it to a recruit. Every signing he's got has been without that. And that Texas A&M bought every recruit that they had. Texas A&M has a historically good freshman class coming in. I think they have 7 of the top 120 players in the country. They're the number one recruiting class by far. Some say the best recruiting class ever.
Multiple number ones at different positions.
Yes. For a team that has had 4 top 100 players over the past 4 years, 8-4 team, usually not the kind of team that pulls in the recruits they've got. So Saban says they bought every player they had. We do it the right way. Lane Kiffin chips in, which I don't know why Lane Kiffin does anything publicly after the career he's had.
I love
but
it,
he
though.
did.
I love it, though.
He thought it was funny. He says they're going to have to put a luxury tax on A&M this year because of the money that they're giving to players.
That's hilarious.
Steve Spurrier also gets in the mix, another former SEC coach. I don't think he's currently coaching, is he? Spurrier's out.
No, he's not doing anything. He's connected with Florida right now, doing something, I believe, but not coaching.
Yeah. And his comments were backing up Saban. He said, did he say anything that wasn't true? Saban also called out Jackson State, where primetime Deion Sanders is at. Said they paid a kid $1 million and were bragging about it, talking about their recruitment of number 1 overall recruit Travis Hunter. Jimbo denies everything in terms of him doing anything wrong. So I think that's where the distinction comes in. Jimbo's offended. He was called out. He didn't break any rules, but he has not said that those kids didn't get NIL deals. Like, they are doing it. Saban's not wrong, but Jimbo's not breaking any rules. I love the whole thing. I love that this isn't Patrick Beverly and somebody else just chirping at each other. Kevin Durant on Twitter. Like, these are established, in Saban's case, maybe the greatest college football coach of all time. Like, these are Hall of Famers that are going back and forth. I love it. NIL is an absolute nightmare, though. I mean, this is a mess. Funniest part of the whole thing to me, after Kiffin comes out and says that, he lands Jordan Addison out of Pittsburgh, who kind of started the whole NIL debacle this year with getting an offer, Dave, I believe you said, from Lincoln Riley. So I love it. It's great.
Do y'all think Saban's bored? Like, do you think he has won so much and then he got beat by Georgia in the championship? Do you think he's like just bored and he's just looking for the next best thing?
Some excitement to kick up his.
Like, I think he needs something to like get the juices going, and this is like a coach getting kicked out of a ball game. He's getting the boys ready. He's getting them fired up, and it's like,
well, here's what he's doing. He is already planning the mind games.
Yep.
For that matchup with Texas A&M, who they lost to last year. Mm-hmm. He's foreshadowing the mind. I don't even know when they play, how far along the schedule it's going to be, but that's what he's doing. He's setting up Alabama to have to come out and play good, or they're going to make him look bad. And what happens is, if he's going and saying, he's basically demoting the efforts that Texas A&M has put in, who technically hasn't broken any rules. But if you guys know anything about any Texas college program in general, like UT and Texas A&M, TCU, Baylor, they've got money down there. Like, Texas is the most profitable college athletics program in the entire country. And what have they done? They don't do nothing. Like,
they're not back.
Baseball team, definitely not back. And they're definitely going to be not back even more when they come to the SEC. But what he's doing is he's setting the standard to start selling tickets to that Texas A&M Alabama game here in next fall. And he's not dumb.
October 8th.
Yeah.
Saban is not dumb. We all know this. He's very smart. He knows what he's doing, and he knew exactly what he was doing when he said what he said. So he has an agenda. We just probably won't ever know it. But it is a little fishy coming from.
Yeah. I agree. He's extremely calculated. He's the guy who's like public about his need for having a consistent habit. He eats the same thing every single day for breakfast.
2 oatmeal cream pies.
I found this out. Yes. That's amazing. Like, right then and there, this guy is not mentally sound, but he's extremely calculated in everything he does. 2 Little Debbies every day for breakfast. He also worked with Fisher for a number of years, right? He came from his system, so he knows this guy. And I think you're right. He's getting in Jimbo's mind right now. You saw him in the press conference. He's extremely emotional about it. And emotion is not always a good thing when you can't control it. So I think he's playing the long game. He is worried about this game. He sees the recruiting class coming in. He knows they lost last year. And I agree 100%. I think this is Saban game planning in May for the October 8th game.
Yeah, but he's not wrong. I have an issue with the NIL. I think there's a right way and there's a wrong way. The right way, give me the NCAA video games. Give me, pay the guys to be featured in that. Have merch. Have the Johnny Football T-shirts that Johnny Manziel is able to get some money now.
Yeah, sell jerseys in the bookstore with people's names on them.
Pay the kids for some physical things. The pay for play is wrong, in my opinion, because NCAA is supposed to be an amateur sport. We now know they are no longer amateurs because we are getting pay for play. And that's my whole issue with it. Earn your money. Because I think that's kind of, you look at the economy today, I mean, shoot, how many people are getting paid for, TikToks and viral videos? It's like, I mean, yeah, you're funny, and that was a good video, but back it up, become a comedian, become, entertain people rather
Provide a
than
service.
exactly
Yeah.
like like you look at the Quinn Ewers for Ohio State that now
Ain't
I
done
believe is
shit
going
to
he didn't
Texas.
he didn't play his senior year of football to go get an NIL deal and get paid. Do I blame him? No, but he will have made he'll make more than I will in friggin' 25 years, and he's going to be turning 19 or 18, and now he's
And
already
he's
at his
not
second school.
and he's not taking a
Yeah.
snap yet.
Exactly, and that's where I find issue with it. Now, if he's up there doing car commercials and working for that money, fine, whatever. Anybody has the ability to go be in a car commercial if they really wanted to be and get paid for it. But it's the whole I'm going to pay you to come to Texas A&M to be on this football team so that we have the best team. That's where I have an issue with it, where it's supposed to be an amateur sport.
Yeah.
The biggest issue I
I-
have is like 5 years ago, like NCAA athletes could not go get a job to work on the side. Like we had a kicker from UCF who had a YouTube channel that monetized it, and then it got deemed he had to either get up his YouTube channel or not receive a scholarship to play football. And the dude was making hundreds of thousands of dollars making YouTube videos. He wasn't going to make hundreds of thousands of dollars playing football. So the NCAA literally took his love of football away from him because they wouldn't let him make a little extra money on the side that he was actually earning. He was putting into work. He was doing that. You can't even get a job at like McDonald's if you're an NCAA athlete 5 years ago. And now we're just throwing literally millions of dollars at these high school kids. Doesn't make sense to me that we go from literally nothing to too much in a span of the flip of a switch. And that's what you should have eased your way into it. There has to be parameters. And I think it's the way, like we said it before, it's the Wild Wild West, and there's no slowing it down because it's already been in place. And now once you try to put parameters on it, people are going to find ways around them.
Yeah.
And then you're going to ruin it.
You're going to start seeing head coaches with sales backgrounds. They don't have to play a sport or anything. Yeah. Who can get the most sponsorships in? Who can sell the parents the best? That's what you're going to have in there. But
give me some finance majors.
A little unrelated, it's not football, but Armando Bacot, right? Big UNC fan. I follow Bacot on all his social media. He went to the Kentucky Derby. He left the Kentucky Derby with an NIL deal from a horse farm. How does a UNC basketball player from Virginia have any ties to get paid a sponsorship deal from a horse farm in Kentucky? Like, it's just
hooking up with Will
they're
Levis,
finding money everywhere, and that may have something to do with why he's back for another year when he could have been 100%
is. That's the sole reason people want to say it's because he wasn't ready to go to the draft. No, he may not have gotten drafted in the first round. He might be a late second round pick, which we all know in the NBA, none of that is guaranteed. If you're a second rounder, you're very, very highly unlikely to land on a roster. But there are other professional avenues to take when it comes to, you have the G League. People get paid in the G League. They get caught up all the time from the G League. That's probably where he would much rather get paid playing professional basketball in the G League than going to class. And everybody knows that. But now he can get paid while he's doing all that stuff. Plus, you get the attention and fame and the lure of being a college athlete and being a high-level college athlete who just took his team to the national championship and still get paid for it. So that's the good part about it. And guys like Oscar Tshiebwe, we talked about too, the NIL has helped him out tremendously to help his family out. But football is a different animal. I think you're good because there's so much money in it in college football, especially down south, that it's going to be hard to slow down. And I don't understand how people are going to do it.
Well, what I'm worried about is what happens when the states, you've already seen it, where states are legislating NIL deals. Where, I know Calipari has came out with Kentucky legislators that basically said, don't do pay for play. Well, and that's where you're going to see the unfair advantages come in, because you're going to get a state like Texas who everything's bigger in Texas, and they aren't going to care. And they're going to say, if this is what's going to bring Texas back, you pay what you need to pay.
We don't do it.
Exactly. And that's where I'm worried about it. And that's where I honestly think the NCAA is going to be a thing of the past here in a few years. As soon as I feel like as soon as Texas and Oklahoma comes to the SEC, you're going to see teams just basically the conferences are going to remove themselves from the NCAA and start playing their own. I mean, you see it now where the Pac-12 doesn't have divisions. So the kind of the
Yeah.
standard outline of how divisions and conferences work are even being changed today. It's like, well, shoot, will we even need, like, Texas doesn't need the NCAA. They have their own TV network. They can get opponents easily. That's where this whole landscape's changing. It's going to be a wild roller coaster ride here for the next few years as this all gets ironed out.
Yeah.
It's good news for the Trifecta Sports Podcast. 'Cause now we have shit to talk about.
Well, and I don't know if you guys saw this, but Mark Emmert, I think he's the president of the NCAA. He's actually stepped down. Well, he's still active while they're like finding a replacement through, I think, next year. But a lot of people have been calling for his head because the NCAA has been so kind of up and down with how they handle issues and how they react to certain things. So it's going to be interesting to see, who they actually call in to replace him and what kind of direction the new person leads them.
Bring in Adam Silver. It'd be great.
I would.
Adam Silver could fix the NCAA. Put me on record.
Well,
Can we
here's
just
the
have
thing.
Adam Silver
Here's what
be
needs to
like
happen.
the commissioner of all sports?
Just
Yep.
Adam Silver, commissioner, everything.
North American sports president.
Yes.
So here's the thing about college sports and the NCAA. Either you need to have strict rules or you need to have no rules. There cannot be a gray area.
Yeah.
Because you're dealing with adults molding children's, which is what they are, children's decisions before, first of all, their brains aren't fully developed until you're about 21, 22 years old. And what happens is these kids get told these things, and that's why you see so many transfers. They're so gullible. And these adults are they're using these players to generate money for their programs and honestly for themselves. As a coach, you're recruiting the best players because you want to win and you want to stay at your job, or you want to move up to a bigger job that pays you more money, and you want raises and you want your coaches to get raises. Not once has Dabo Swinney, I'm talking about you. Not once has anybody in the coaching carousel, I don't want to say not anybody, because there are people out there that are for it and have supported it, are players getting paid. But they don't like players getting money. We're free education. No, they're not there to get a free education. They're there to play football. If they wanted free education, they would have just went to school there.
I'd like to see the graduation rate.
You wouldn't have had to recruit them if they wanted the free education. But they're not going to use that free education. That's their goal. Their goal is to not use it. They want to make it to the NFL. They want to make it to the NBA and so forth. And if you go to those types of schools, your chances of achieving that goal are pretty high. So having these coaches not being for having some sort of compensation for the players is asinine in my opinion. But also, coaches are highly overpaid too. And they're making so much more money off of the backs of children and young adults who don't make good decisions on their own. So it's going to be interesting to see the future.
Sports are more business than games than they have ever been before.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't know. We could talk about that forever. There's a ton there.
Yeah.
All right, Dave, we're going to dive into the NHL playoffs next. We have Colorado, the Avalanche, who swept my beloved for the last 3.5 weeks, Nashville Predators. They're up on them 2-1. They got beat last night. You got the Calgary Flames and the Edmonton Oilers. That's a series that I've been watching. Very high scoring. Those dudes can put the puck in the net. Connor McDavid is a stud. I figured that out in my short time being a hockey fan. We have the Florida, Panthers and the Tampa Bay Lightning, 2-time defending Stanley Cup champions. And then the Carolina Hurricanes and New York Rangers. Carolina leads 2-0. Tampa Bay leads 2-0. Dave, any specific highlights that you would like to bring to the forefront?
Yeah, so
I'm loving the jersey, by the way.
Hell yeah, my boy Tarasenko. Let's get some goals, though, buddy. We need to score some more. I would say the most surprising one right now, the most surprising series to me is Tampa Bay, Florida. Florida was the number 1 overall team in the regular season. They went and made a splash and picked up Claude Gaudreau from the Philadelphia Flyers, which was like the biggest trade of the season. And, Tampa Bay, they've won the cup past 2 years, and they're not as talented as they were those past 2 years, but they are just beating down the Panthers. They're in the first right now of Game 3, tied 0-0, but I don't know if you guys watched the first game, but it was so boring. People in Florida really don't care about hockey, so it's really funny that 2 of the best teams in the league are in Florida. And I mean, I watched that first period, and it was a snooze fest. I mean, you could actually hear the benches talking and the coaches screaming because there were no fan interactions, no fan noise. It was weird. And
Wow.
then the TNT broadcast with Paul Biznasty is one of the best hockey guys out there to follow. He's got the Spit and Chillets podcast, and he's doing the Shaq and Charles TNT for the hockey side, just electric. And he went and chugged a Red Bull to try and fire up the crowd in between on intermission. So, but that's been a good series. Carolina and up 2-0 on the Rangers, not really that big a surprise. I honestly thought the Rangers kind of escaped round 1 against Pittsburgh. So I kind of saw that. Carolina's pretty good. Rangers are probably pretty beat up and tired from that first round series. Calgary and Edmonton, I would say, is the series to watch, though. I mean, the Battle of Alberta, I believe they said this is only like the second or third time, third time the Battle of Alberta has been played in the playoffs in like the last, 20 or 30 years. So pretty big rivalry. You're going to see a lot of goals. Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl. Edmonton has the best offense in the league, in my opinion. If you get McJesus, the puck 1-on-4, he will figure out a way how to get past those 4 guys. So definitely the one I would say to watch. The only bad part is you guys are Eastern time, boys. You have to stay up till 1 or 2 p.m. or 1 or 2 a.m.
I've watched a couple of them.
Yeah. And then, you guys got any comments on those series before we get on my tangent with the Blues?
Yeah, I'll just echo what you said on Connor McDavid. I mean, it looks like he's playing a different game than everybody else. Like, it's extremely impressive.
He's like 06 LeBron for the NHL.
Yeah. And the way I saw somebody on Twitter say this, he is running while everybody else is crawling. I mean, that when he is skating, his skating ability, that's basically how it is. He is the fastest guy. He hasn't won the fastest skating competition in a couple years, but I would say, it's like when you're running, dribbling a basketball, you're not going to be as fast. I think this guy is as fast when he has the puck on his stick versus just skating in general. Like, it is insane what he's able to do, just being able to control that puck, and he scores a lot of goals. So he is an absolute stud, and it's kind of crazy. It's like watching the Wayne Gretzky of our generation in real life or real time, seeing his presence and how good he is. So,
yep.
All right, but now on to the big Blues recap. Game 1 was kind of very physical. It actually turned out to be a really good game, even though the Avalanche outshot the Blues like 54-35, I believe. Jordan Binnington was standing on his head, though. That guy was unbelievable. Jordan Kyrou snuck in the second goal to send it into overtime late in the third. And then, unfortunately, they had a slap shot there from Manson to end the game. Game 2 was just the Blues rebounded, and they just, blew the brakes off the Avalanche, which nobody really expected because the Avalanche controlled Game 1 so favorably. And then last night we had Game 3. We had some early drama with Kadri colliding with Binnington I believe there was another Blues defenseman with him too. And now they're saying Bennington's out for the remainder of the season or series, not
Man.
season. So that's twofold for us Blues fans because Blues St. Louis fans are very similar to Kentucky Wildcats fans. They are very quick to blow things out of proportion. And if you all would have been paying attention around January or February, Jordan Bennington should have been cut. He was giving up like three plus goals a game. He shouldn't be playing. We have Billy Husso, who is a rookie, or I think he has rookie qualifications. He's been up and down, but and he was playing out of his mind. He actually was the first ever rookie, I believe, to have a shutout in his first ever playoff appearance. So, and then he played 2 games. Bennington got hot, so now we've had Bennington the past 4 games. So now we got Billy Husso back in the net. So that's what they always say. You got to have 2 goaltenders to really compete for a cup. So good thing we got 2 goaltenders. So it's going to be real interesting to see how the Blues now bounce back in Game 4 tomorrow night. And then my last kind of tidbit is Ryan O'Reilly just broke the Blues record for longest goal streak in playoff history at 6. So he's also a guy he's not flashy. He is the ultimate grinder, defensive center, one of the higher face-off win percentages in the league. But, him putting pucks in the net is absolutely huge for this Blues team. So it's I actually, in my bracket challenge, I picked Colorado to actually win the Stanley Cup. So I love it that we're sitting at 2-1 right now with another game at home. If we're able to tie it up 2-2, who knows what happens in Game 5, Game 6. So it's a good series, 2 good teams. Can't beat it.
Yep.
Thank you for our weekly hockey update, my good friend David. That's one good thing that's come out of this podcast, even if we have 32 subscribers on YouTube, is me getting a love or, growing love for a new sport. My wife actually has been watching it as well. She doesn't care that I turn on the hockey game, and then she kind of gets excited when something cool happens and they start fighting. She goes, oh, they're fighting. I'm like, no, they're not, but it's okay.
Hey, let me get one more random sports shout out in here. NASCAR. Completely forgot about it. Last weekend, Kurt Busch got the first win for Team 23. Yeah, 2311 this season. Jordan and Denny Hamlin co-own that team. They run the 23 car and the 45 car. Kurt Busch won that race. I guess he had one heck of an after party and announced for divorce middle week.
Oh,
dang, son.
Wow.
I don't think the two were related, but it was just extremely funny timing, in my opinion. Not that we ever want to see anybody get divorced. Not making that a joke, but just the series of events that happened. He wins on Sunday. On Wednesday, he's getting divorced. Pretty comical timeline.
Yeah.
Oh, well, yeah.